of Mount Lebanon and the sacred hill of Mount Zion, threads of connection have been woven from the days of ancient kings and prophets, all the way to our modern times. Ever since King Hiram sent the cedars of Lebanon to King Solomon's temple on Mount Zion, there was a silent message. This land, with all its diversity and history, holds shared stories among its peoples. As time moved forward, these connections didn't remain just historical echoes. In the mid-20th century, as the region underwent dramatic changes, the Maronites reached out to the Zionists in a historic 1946 agreement, blessed by Patriarch Antoine Arida. This step was more than just a document. It was a continuation of deep-rooted mutual understanding. Today, amid all the challenges that Lebanon and the region face, the Cedar Accords emerge as a revival of that ancient spirit in a new form. It's not just a political initiative. It's a promise of a future where the Maronites can find a safe space to express their identity and revive peace with Israel, away from the conflicts that have burdened the region. The Cedar Accords are not just another agreement. They are a doorway to a future where history becomes a bridge, not a burden, and where deeply rooted ties become the foundation for lasting peace. From the depths of history to the future of Lebanon, this initiative could redraw the landscape of the region with a spirit of hope and understanding. Peace on the mountains. The mountains shall bring peace to the people, and the hills by righteousness. In the heart of history, between the towering mountains of Mount Lebanon and the sacred hill of Mount Zion, threads of connection have been woven from the days of ancient kings and prophets, all the way to our modern times. Ever since King Hiram sent the cedars of Lebanon to King Solomon's temple on Mount Zion, there was a silent message. This land, with all its diversity and history, holds shared stories among its peoples. As time moved forward, these connections didn't remain just historical echoes. In the mid-20th century, as the region underwent dramatic changes, the Maronites reached out to the Zionists in a historic 1946 agreement, blessed by Patriarch Antoine Arida. This step was more than just a document. It was a continuation of deep-rooted mutual understanding. Today, amid all the challenges that Lebanon and the region face, the Cedar Accords emerge as a revival of that ancient spirit in a new form. It's not just a political initiative. It's a promise of a future where the Maronites can find a safe space to express their identity and revive peace with Israel, away from the conflicts that have burdened the region. The Cedar Accords are not just another agreement. They are a doorway to a future where history becomes a bridge, not a burden, and where deeply rooted ties become the foundation for lasting peace. From the depths of history to the future of Lebanon, this initiative could redraw the landscape of the region with a spirit of hope and understanding. Peace on the mountains. The mountains shall bring peace to the people, and the hills by righteousness. In the heart of history, between the towering mountains of Mount Lebanon and the sacred hill of Mount Zion, threads of connection have been woven from the days of ancient kings and prophets, all the way to our modern times. Ever since King Hiram sent the cedars of Lebanon to King Solomon's temple on Mount Zion, there was a silent message. This land, with all its diversity and history, holds shared stories among its peoples. As time moved forward.
Hello, everyone. I'm just waiting for all the speakers to show up, and then we start our Cedar Accord space. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you
Okay,
hear me?
perfect. Yes, yes, yes. Just testing. Dr. Waleed, do you hear me as well? All good?
I do, thank you, yes.
Okay. We're still waiting for all the speakers and then we start. Won't be long. We have Tom Harb. Can you see him here? And Shadi Khalloul. And I'm trying to. Oh, yes, yes. Okay. Avi, if you see other speakers, can you please invite them to speak from your side?
Yeah, sure. I'm on it.
Yeah, good.
Hey, good morning. We're also waiting for Frank Salemi. He was here, and I don't know what happened to him. Oh, okay, I see him. Just send him the microphone, my co-host, please.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
Can you see him, Avi? Because I have a long list here. I'm trying to.
No, I'm looking for the list as well.
Yeah, I can't see Frank.
I'm looking for Shadi as well.
Shadi is not here yet. Yeah, so we have
No.
Shadi and Frank.
Eddie is here.
So altogether 8 without Frank. Okay, I found him. Okay. Who's still missing? Shadi Khalloul.
Yeah, Shadi has to take the microphone. Also, Carlos, you have Dr. Ferris and Eddie Cohen. Dr. Ferris was here and he left. I don't know what happened to him. So, and he's the first one.
Yes. Okay, approved. Okay.
Okay, رجع ابعتي له الميكروفون.
I did. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
بعد في شادي وكارلوس.
That's it, and then we can start.
Yeah. جربي ابعتي الميكروفون بعد مرة لدكتور فارس لأن عم بروح من عنده ولشادي خلول.
شايفه? Can you see him? Maybe Avi. Okay. I can't see Dr. Waleed in my list here.
شادي عامل لك ريكوست، فوتي اعملي له اكسبت، اعملي معروف. اوكي and دكتور فارس رجعي ابعتي له بعد مرة تنقدر نبلش.
I can't see Shadi. I invited Frank to co-host again. Is he now the co-host? Avi, can you see Shadi on your list?
No, I cannot. I'm looking.
Yeah, okay. And Dr. Waleed, can you see him? The list is almost ready.
إذا بتطلعي بالليست يلي باعتين بدهم الميكروفون شادي لازم يكون بيناتهم.
Okay. Request. I can't see. Dr. Waleed. Okay, perfect. I got this one. I don't see Shadi.
طيب فيك تبلشي كان شادي عرف لي على الميكروفون. Thank you.
Okay. Hello everyone. Marhaba, shlomo, shalom. Today we gather not as strangers divided by conflicts not of our own, but as keepers of a shared ancient heritage. Thank you for joining the first official space of the Cedar Accords. Named after the cedar tree, Lebanon's emblem of strength and dignity, the Cedar Accords recall the ancient covenant between King Hiram of Tyre and King Solomon. Their covenant built a temple. Ours seeks to rebuild trust. Let me be clear. The Cedar Accords are not agreements between government. They are bridges between the peoples of Mount Lebanon and Mount Zion. Our histories rise from these mountains themselves. As Psalm 72 verse 3 tells us, the mountains shall bring peace to the people. The mountains shall bring peace to the people. Most importantly, the Cedar Accords do not invent a new initiative. They revive an old one. They restore the spirit of the 1946 Maronite Zionist Treaty, signed by representatives of the visionary Patriarch Arida. As Lebanese Christians, we have never been historic enemies of the Jewish people or Israel. In times of shared dangers, we stood as allies. And today, after years of intimidation and distortion, we, the sovereign people of Mount Lebanon, say clearly, we refuse to be bullied into submission or worse, extinction. We refuse to be told whom to hate and whom to love. We refuse to be told who our allies are and who are our enemies. Enough. Today, we break the taboo. We tear down the walls of fear between us. We reclaim our natural affinities and alliances. We claim our right to live free, proud, and at peace with Israel. The Cedar Accords declare not only what we reject, occupation and proxy wars on our soil, but we choose We choose pragmatism over propaganda. We choose prosperity over endless wars. We choose progress over backwardness. We choose a future shaped by our people, not by those who profit from division. The people have spoken. The mountains are answering. Let us begin together. Let's welcome our distinguished speakers and co-hosts. Thank you for being here. And now I hand the mic to my co-host who will be welcoming our speakers. Frank representing the Lebanese side and Adi representing the Jewish and Israeli side. Frank, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry.
No worries.
This is the first time I use this platform. Thank you so much for this beautiful introduction. I was tasked with the easy task of presenting folks who don't need an introduction. Definitely don't need my introduction. Waleed Phares est une personne qu'on ne présente plus. Everybody knows who we're talking about. So I won't take long introducing him and Tom Harb, because as we say in Lebanese, shahidti majruha. I'm biased, in other words. Dr. Phares is one of the first historians that I read as a teenager while I was still in Lebanon. His foundational book for me is Le Peuple Chrétien du Liban, 13 siècles de lutte. The Christian people of Lebanon, 13 centuries of struggle. Later in life, when I met him in America as an adult, I came to find out that the book that I read as a teenager of this guy named Waleed Phares was actually written by a teenager. So he was a teenager when he wrote that first book of history that I read as a teenager. And I also came to find out that his own teachers at university in Lebanon used to assign readings from his work, probably not knowing it was written by one of their students. So this is to tell you that we're in good hands, having him in the trenches with us, so to speak, today as a prominent academic and public intellectual, advocating for Lebanese sovereignty and independence and peaceful relations with Lebanon's neighbors, including Israel, a place and a people with which we've had, as the introduction mentioned, that we've had a millennia of peaceful relations with. Dr. Phares, besides his academic life as professor, author, and public intellectual since at least the early 1990s, he also served in America as foreign policy advisor to several U.S. presidential candidates. And this, I think, since 2011. He was Donald Trump's first foreign policy advisor and served as Secretary General of the Transatlantic Parliamentary Group on Counterterrorism. Dr. Phares was also Fox News and Newsmax national security analyst for some 17 years and has briefed major U.S. government agencies on the Middle East and European affairs for some 20 years. He was born in Beirut, where he completed his secondary and advanced academic studies. Again, authoring several books that, as I mentioned before, while still a law student, he also in Lebanon practiced law and launched a social democratic group for many years before he moved to the States in 1990. Dr. Phares' expertise is widely recognized globally. He'll be speaking today on the status of possible peace between Lebanon and Israel, and Lebanon potentially, perhaps as a necessity, as an unavoidable impending fact, Lebanon's adherence to the Abraham Accords. So without further ado, Dr. Phares, do you want to take the mic?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Professor Frank. Thank you for your amazing introduction. And I must say something that you have worked hard also on the same themes, and your PhD dissertation is about Saeed Aql. What else can we say to introduce you? Who himself was one of the great thinkers of a free Lebanon when it was Lebanon, and I was very happy to spend many years interacting with you on scholarly matters, one of which the most important was on Lebanon, its freedom and its communities, and on the relationship between various communities around the Middle East. I'm going to try to summarize as much as I can, though, the organizer whom I thank very much, the organizer of this space, Mount Lebanon group, have been also very diligent in selecting a great number of speakers, and they have been very active for months and years to try to create the real coexistence between the real peoples of the Middle East, and not just the regimes and the elites. I will be as summarized as possible. I know there are so many speakers. Each one will be, as a talent, will be talking about a variety of matters related to the Cedar's Accord. The Cedar's Accord or agreement or treaty, we'll see how that will become, are just the expression of a deeper relationship between the nations of the Middle East, the various nations in the Middle East. And as it was designed by the team that organized this space, it is specifically between Mount Lebanon as a community. There are multiple communities, but Mount Lebanon and the Israeli people, that's the basis of this conversation. But before I start, I would like to indicate there are, I have basically 4 points. The first point is about this experiment, this little gathering at this point in time, because it may become and widen into a much larger gathering. And I always keep in mind when I get into a forum to define exactly from my perspective what this forum is about, from the perspective of legal, political, and geopolitical as well. This is an experimental forum. It's a space online. Why am I saying this? Because this is not a meeting between Lebanese government and Israeli government. That we leave it to the governments. They will decide when and how to establish their own relationship. This is not a Lebanese group reaching out basically or petitioning the state of Israel. And I'm measuring every word for the interest of everybody participating here, and especially friends and relatives inside Lebanon because of the legal framework. So this is not, as far as I see it, a political petition on behalf of Lebanese to Israel or to Israelis, nor this is a petitioning on behalf of Israeli citizens either to their government or to the Lebanese governments. That is important because there could be reactions in the future, especially as you know the state of affairs in Lebanon and the role of Hezbollah and so on and so forth. This is an open public forum with speakers speaking to the global community. And I'm underlining what are the meanings of this expression. So this is a forum where speakers will come, are here. They will be expressing their opinion under international law and all the laws that exist in national frameworks. My second point is I have to do a little travel in history, because to get to a real treaty or agreement, you have realities on the ground. What is the reality between Lebanon and Israel? This is mostly affecting the people living in Lebanon, not the diaspora. I'll talk about the diaspora in a couple minutes. So let me start with the second point is that the Lebanese inside Lebanon, mostly those who have one passport, mostly those who are living under one government or the Lebanese government and one legal system. So they have the absolute right to express themselves on international relations, on foreign affairs, on evolution of a relationship, even in a state of war. Let's be very clear, because there are a lot of scholars for the last 40, 50 years who have been saying, well, you cannot speak about peace. You cannot speak to a national from Israel. Even people who are from Lebanese descent have no right to speak about the matter. Well, I'm here to say that all of that is wrong. Lebanese inside Lebanon, even outside Lebanon, even the Lebanese diaspora have the full right under international law, and even, you're not going to believe that, under Lebanese law, to express their opinion. So the story of this history is that in 1949, after a brief war, Lebanon entered that war with Israel, there was an armistice signed. And later on, laws to prohibit the contact with the state of Israel. Now, of course, later on, you have Arab nationalists and Hezbollah who interpreted these laws the way they want. That's why the bridge between people to people didn't happen, or happened very poorly, or actually it was suppressed. But basically, they were massive events that took place between 49 and now. And the armistice by itself and these laws are not the most important of these events. In 1975 to 76, there was a major war in Lebanon, broke the country in two pieces and maybe more. In 78, there was a massive Syrian shelling of Lebanon, followed by a Security Council resolution to stop that war. Most of you who lived in Lebanon or even outside Lebanon, you are aware of the series of evolution of events in Lebanon that prohibited or that stopped or that put pressure or threatened any expression of Lebanese willing to do peace, let alone to do more than that, to normalize, or the Abraham Accord like organizations. During that time, especially during the war till 1990, there were even factions inside Lebanon who established formal relationship with the state of Israel. It was condemned later, but that does not mean that it did not happen. But the most important development from a legal perspective was that in 1983, on May 17, 1983, there was a formal accord signed. And people, you know, when I discuss relationship in Abraham Accord, I mentioned this, and very few people in America can remember that there was actually a legal text signed between the two governments of Israel and of Lebanon. It was later on canceled. We understand that. But it was canceled, guess what? By military force, by an offensive led by the pro-Assad regime and Hezbollah on Beirut, on the Lebanese army. And yes, the political parties accepted at the end of the day to cancel it, but that does not cancel history. There was a moment where the Lebanese Republic and the State of Israel signed an agreement, and it was endorsed by the United States. These are very important pieces to remember. I know in your discussion, you're going to go thousands of years to, kings of Israel and King Hiram. I understand that, and that is the real foundation and all what came after. But legally speaking, we need to remind those interested in Lebanon that the state of enmity is a political statement made in 1948, followed by a armistice in 1949. That's what it is. And then there was one attempt, 1983, that lasted probably 2 years of full peace signed between the two republics, or the two countries, may I say. Having said that, there was a Syrian occupation all the way from 78 to 2000. What does that mean in international law? When a country is occupied, and it was recognized, guess when? In 2004 was UN Security Council Resolution 1559. So these have consequences. When you have a United Nations Security Council resolution ordering the Syrian occupation to withdraw from Lebanon, ordering Hezbollah as a militia and all militias to disarm, that has consequences. It means that the state, before that, the state of Lebanon, was controlled by these two forces. And when a state is controlled by foreign forces, or a force that is linked to a foreign power, in the case of Hezbollah, what does that mean in international relations? That the decision made by that state on foreign affairs that the decision of enmity were not autonomous, were not independent, were not sovereign. I know maybe it's the first time for many among you who are hearing these arguments, but these arguments are very valid under international relations. At least, Resolution 1559 gives the legitimacy to the Lebanese population. Anybody, not everybody, perhaps Hezbollah will not going to agree on this, but for the rest of the Lebanese population to argue that our republic, at least since 75, 76, and certainly since 1978, was occupied. And since it was occupied, resolutions issued, laws issued are questionable. They need to go back to square one and be vetted again. And how do you vet these laws? How do you vet them? By creating mechanism of referendum. Referendum meaning, do we accept these laws or we don't accept these laws? So the whole accusations that comes sometimes from some agencies in Lebanon about anybody who appears with Israelis or anybody who speak, this is not, this forum is just expressing ideas. We're not even there. But in general terms, these accusations that come mostly from militias in control of the country are invalid in terms of international law and can be questioned even by the Lebanese courts. We know that a number of lawmakers living even under Syrian occupation or Hezbollah terrorism have argued many times that whatever was done in 48, 49 and the laws that came after can be questions. And that's the gist of what this conference is doing, in addition to the fact that how beneficial it is, how peace is beneficial. I'll leave it to other speakers. Let me move quickly. 2005, Resolution 1559 was issued. That gives a lot of legitimacy to people who want to get to peace. 2008, Hezbollah conducted a coup. May 7, 2008, conducted a coup. Therefore, Hezbollah took the control of Lebanese policy or Lebanese state foreign policy and waged campaigns against the peacemakers, the peace activists. Anybody who was even thinking of establishing peace was attacked by Hezbollah by using the agencies of the Lebanese state. And that's why many abroad didn't understand how was it possible that Lebanese citizens or from Lebanese origin are being persecuted in some cases, both inside Lebanon and in the region, for just asking for peace. Hezbollah led Lebanon into a war with Israel, couple wars with Israel, but the most important one was the last one, and Hezbollah lost that war. And you know the rest as events have developed since. Many lawmakers since that time, since 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, have actually pushed the government, asked the government to start negotiations to resolve the problem between the state of the Republic of Lebanon and the state of Israel. And now we are at the stage where the Lebanese government is under pressure by the United States, by the Western coalition, to start engagement with Israeli government to resolve issues, military issues, but in the process of going towards the Abraham Accord. Let me move quickly, so I'm not taking a lot of time, to the Lebanese diaspora. The Lebanese diaspora is found in about 27 countries. It's 3 or 4 times the size of the entire population of Lebanon. It will be surprising to many, probably among you, to know that the Lebanese diaspora has a large tranche of population that has only one passport, the one they, of their national countries. So American Lebanese, Canadian Lebanese, Australian Lebanese, Brazilian Lebanese, so on and so forth. You have a few hundred thousands of those who have a dual nationality, and they will have to make a choice, basically, in following this set of laws or the other set of laws. But it would be surprising to know that at least since 1990, I don't have the numbers before that, but at least since 1990, 1991, 1 million from the Lebanese diaspora have visited Israel. 1 million. How that? You know, first of all, you can go to social media and see the pictures of all these reports about individuals who have visited for pilgrimage. You know that the churches of Lebanon and others have organized thousands and thousands of trips to the Holy Land. What is the Holy Land? It's Israel. They visited Jerusalem, they visited other holy places, so on and so forth. So the question is now to the Lebanese Republic, what are you going to do about them? If 1 million, say 750,000 people have already visited Israel, and guess what? They go back to their countries, America, France, etc., and then go back to Lebanon, go to their villages, go to their environments. So reality has changed. If we say 1 million of these 27 countries who also have these passports have visited Israel, that's a reality. I could push it even 1 inch and say, and I'm not hiding a secret, many Lebanese in the diaspora, let's call them Lebanese Americans, Lebanese Canadians, have served their own government by going to Israel and training the national security apparatus of Israel or receiving training. Yes, it's the first time we're talking about it. This is not visiting. This is actually a job. I mean, the U.S. government would send a unit, and in that unit, there were Lebanese Americans. What are you going to do about them? They were questioning a Miss Lebanon years ago because she appeared in a picture with Miss Israel. Maybe say, maybe said hello. That was Hezbollah controlling the foreign policy. Hezbollah should not be allowed to control the foreign policy of Lebanon. During the war in Vietnam, you had singers and artists and comedians going to North Vietnam because they were seeking peace. Do we agree or disagree? That's an American issue. So the reality in Lebanon has changed. It should adapt to the current status of laws. And let me move forward here to conclude on U.S. policy. U.S. policy is very clear, especially it was clear under all administrations, but it was clearer and clearer under the Trump administration, the first term. And then certainly in the second term, it's clear. The envoys on behalf of the President of the United States to Lebanon are advising and pushing and putting pressure on the Lebanese government to start the engagement to end the war. What is the motto of President Trump? Ending wars. That war has lasted too long. Hezbollah wants to do a war for the next 1,000 years. Let them do that war. That's between Hezbollah and Israel. There's war between Hezbollah and Israel. But between Lebanon and the Lebanese and Israel, like with Cyprus, like with France, like with Malta, like with other countries, a majority of Lebanese is seeking not just peace, but normal relations. And not just the Christians and the Maronites, but many in all communities, with differences, of course. So my conclusion here is that as an American scholar, yes, from Lebanese descent, I am encouraging my own government, the United States, to help both the Lebanese government and the state of Israel moving forward in negotiations, first to end the state of war, and second, to engage in normalization under the Abraham Accord, and most specifically under the Abraham Accord, under what could become the Cedar Accords. Because the Cedar Accords, at the end of the day, are part of this large umbrella of the Abraham Accord, will bring peace, will bring economic renaissance to both countries, supported by the United States and by the international community. This is a vision. Now, to get to that vision, as I said, one of the tools, obviously you may have a lot of other solutions, other visions, is when Hezbollah argue, or Hezbollah and his allies, Ba'athist and others argue that we are in a, quote, we are in an eternal war with Israel until we reach Jerusalem or until the Zionist entity is gone. That's their opinion. First of all, that's not the opinion of most Lebanese, certainly not the opinion at all of the Lebanese diaspora, nor of the friends of Lebanon around the world. On all these three levels, the trend is that peace should start and development of friendships between peoples, regardless of the states. And let me add one more point, last point. Sometimes between governments that are friendly, you have tensions. We just saw what happened in Davos. I mean, the United States had a position, the Europeans have another position, but that does not mean that they go to war against each other. And in terms of the worries by Hezbollah that Lebanese are spying on Lebanon, therefore they are Israeli agents or what have you. Well, when there is a case where certainly someone is working with another government, yes, let justice take its course. But they are accusing millions of Lebanese and millions of immigrants just because they are expressing their intention to create peace between Lebanon and Israel that they are agents. That is over. That era is over. There is freedom that every person around the world can and should choose. And we hope that President Trump, his administration, and the international coalition working against terrorism will finally open that gate between the two peoples so they can establish a dialogue, and the dialogue would lead to a legal framework for a peace. Thank you so much for giving me this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you.
Just want to take the moment to ask everybody to share the space so more people can join us.
Should I be introducing Tom? Tom, do you want to speak next?
Yes, if you don't mind.
Okay, Tom, thank you for joining us. Actually, Tom and I go a long way without either of us knowing it. He's a fellow Bostonian by osmosis, like me. He earned his first degree from the University of Massachusetts in 1982, as I was preparing to move to Orlando, Florida myself, out of which I moved 5 years later back to Boston. In any case, Tom is another prominent Lebanese American activist and advocate and community leader in the diaspora, dedicated to promoting Lebanese sovereignty and independence and regional peace, including peace with Israel, normalization of relations with Israel without compunctions. He's quite outspoken about that. He's a vocal critic of Hezbollah, comme il se doit, as things should be. He's committed, again, to normalization and valorization of the long historical ties between Lebanon and Israel. He's, I think, one of those diaspora voices who keep holding the Lebanese government's feet to the fire, past Lebanese governments and present ones, essentially impugning them, if you will, and pushing them to do their job and reinstate sovereignty and rein in rogues and terrorist organizations like Hezbollah. He is probably one of those diaspora figures that recently the current timorous Lebanese presidency described as those people in the diaspora spewing venom for demanding that the state grow some and do its job. So without further ado, let me say that we are likewise very privileged to have Tom's voice among us and have him with us in the trenches. So take it away, Tom.
Thanks, Dr. Salami. Thanks for that introduction. And it's so hard to go after Dr. Phares with his analysis and experience and so on. And also, I'm honored to be among those great speakers, either the Lebanese side or Israeli side or American Israelis and American Lebanese, and all the attendees here on this program, on this platform. Really, the subject is now, for me, is the Trump goal for Lebanon and the Middle East, and how can we expand the Abraham Accord? Because President Trump obviously wants peace among all the 22 Arab nations with Israel. Some have done so and some have not done so. So, and he's promoting such thing, and he would like to have it done as soon as possible, especially in the first half of his second term. And in order to do so, he needs two ingredients. The first ingredient is to disarm the militias, the terrorist organizations, like in Hamas in Gaza, and to do Hezbollah and Palestinian camps inside Lebanon. That's the first ingredient. And that one, all we have to do is talk about what Hezbollah done, the damage done in Lebanon. And obviously the American power, the Israeli power, and hopefully the Lebanese army could disarm Hezbollah. So, but let's be frank, if it wasn't for Israel who destroyed Hezbollah, a big portion of their leadership and their arsenals, neither Joseph Aoun, a president, could be elected, nor the reforms taking place inside Lebanon now, and probably will not be on this panel discussing this. So really, Netanyahu did a favor for the Lebanese, the Palestinians, to all the Arab nations, and even eventually to the Iranian people. And we have to acknowledge this. And if we do not acknowledge the facts, then we will be lying to each other in Lebanon and outside Lebanon. And I hear these Lebanese, like the Lebanese president the other day, came out and said, I've been achieving what has not been achieved in 40 years. That's all, not factual. The factual thing is he wasn't elected president till Israel destroyed the leadership of Hezbollah. Then Nabi Berri was forced to open the parliament and elect a president. So his achievement or reform is his duty, his obligation, because when he was a president, when he was the head of the army in Lebanon, really he oversaw the explosion in Beirut port, and he saw all the anything subsidized by the Lebanese government going to Syria and so on. So that's the first ingredient, what Israel has done in Lebanon and why we need to continue to disarm the militia Hezbollah. The second ingredient to help President Trump is us. The Lebanese diaspora, the Lebanese in Lebanon, the Israeli American, the Israelis inside Israel, to especially the Lebanese American, because he needs to feel he is supported. We need to be in the Congress all the time. We need to be in the State Department. We need to be with the administration, guide them, tell them the need, because these guys in the Congress, they need to listen to us firsthand all the time. What has to be done and why we need the peace. And second, after the disarmament of Hezbollah, we want to make sure that there is a defense agreement between Lebanon and United States. That defense agreement, it would help Lebanon in the future not to have these terrorist organizations coming and building spots inside Lebanon, and they use the slogan to reclaim Al-Quds. So we want to make sure there's a defense agreement between Lebanon and United States. And then we will go into a peace treaty between Lebanon and Israel. Why the peace treaty is so important? Because if we don't do it, and some of us who lived in Lebanon before, in 1975, when the civil war started, we some of us who mainly on this program probably Christians, and we were living in a Christian area between Beirut or Jizin all the way to Batroun area. All of a sudden, we saw our area surrounded by three fronts, from the north, from the east, and from Beirut and the south toward the Christian area. And even Lebanon was in its glory. Lebanon back then in the 50s and 60s and the 70s, it was the Paris of the Middle East and all of these things. But I mean, you ask yourself as a Lebanese Christian, if this is the case and Lebanon was the glory, why the Muslims sided with the Palestinians and the leftists sided with all of these groups to take out the Christians? And what was the reason for it? And will it happen again? So to prevent this from happening again, we gotta make sure now we learn from the recent history. We rebuild ourselves in a manner not to be challenged again for the long time to come. So that's why the defense agreement with the United States and a peace treaty with Israel, we will build a hope. And again, with the Druze, with the Alawites, and so on, we will build a stronger portion of hope from Laziqiya in Syria all the way to the Suwaida, passing by Lebanon. We need to have really rebuild our conditions to make sure, because all of these things happening now in the region, I'm not sure how long they're going to last. And it doesn't matter if it's a Shiite power in power or Sunnis in power. I say them like they turn against the minorities. And rather than the Arab League today call for an emergency meeting and see what's happening in Syria, why the fear among the minorities in Syria, the Druze and Alawite and Kurds and the Christians, and try to listen to them, the Arab world say, no, we need a central government in Syria and we don't want it. And that's Israel a problem. They coming to divide us. And the people being slaughtered every day in these cities by these jihadis. So we need to build a defense system to prevent it from happening in the future. And our obligation here, American Lebanese, to do the utmost with this great administration at this time to do it. So what's my fear? My fear if Hezbollah is gone tomorrow, and it's gonna be gone, it's gonna be disarmed. The Palestinians are gonna be disarmed. So what we're gonna do with Lebanon? How are going to make sure the politicians in Lebanon, they will not drag us into the Arabist movement again, and they say, I don't have a problem with the Arab nations, but we got to be built on an equal opportunity basis, like Israel exists on an equal opportunity with the Arab world. They cannot use us as individuals be slaughtered here and there at different time and say that's the normality in the Middle East. No, we are not going to accept it. We need to be stronger. We need to be unified with all of these minorities. Like they say, well, they tried in Lebanon with Hezbollah. Hezbollah is not a minority. Hezbollah is a terrorist organization. The Persians in Iran who oppose the mullahs, those are minorities. A lot of people are minorities who are opposed terrorism. So these organizations, because they are Shiites and they say they are minorities among Sunnis, no, those are true terrorists. Those are terrorized the Lebanese Christians more than anybody else. And no, we are not going to accept it. So, and I'm not going to be long over here because I know there are plenty of speakers. So I want to conclude by this. I want to try to see if we could call for a conference in Washington, D.C., because we want to break this block of ice to be American Lebanese, Israeli American, come and invite members of Congress, members of the administration, and they listen to us, and we'll have a dialogue. And that's how we will empower President Trump to continue his mission, because he has a great mission. And Senator Lindsey Graham also, they communicate very well between those two people. We got to go forward with a plan and discuss the present situation, the fear of the future, and how we could avoid that fear to build the right walls to prevent the Islamists from ever take over Lebanon and destroy a civilization of 3,000 years. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, Avi will probably present the Jewish and Israeli side, or the speakers.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. And introduce
yourself. Let's hope. Well, I'm Avi Avidan. We're less formal in Israel. Don't open with my titles, and I'm just an Israeli guy who want to live and coexist in this region, hopefully with people who want to do the same. And let's give the stage Shadi now, right?
Yes.
All right, Shadi, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes.
I don't want to mess this up.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so hello everyone, and thank you for hosting us. And this is an incredibly historical, I think, event that we are doing and launching initiative that will hopefully grow in both countries, and specifically among Lebanese. More and more Lebanese will get the courage to speak and out their minds and not be actually afraid. They deserve to be liberated in a democratic country, in a democratic place where they can speak out and join a peaceful mission that would benefit not Israel only. It will benefit first the Lebanese, actually. And so peace is good for everyone, and specifically Lebanese. And that's what I'm going to talk about myself as a Maronite Christian. I belong to the Syriac Maronite Church of Antioch, and we are Maronites here in Israel, about 10,000 people, and Christians at all, we are around 181,000 Christian Israeli citizens. And I would speak about this topic, how we live here in this country, how we enjoy this freedom of democracy of the Jewish democratic state of Israel, which I would actually hope that this freedom and freedom of speech would be able to be enjoyed also in Lebanon, actually, and for other Christians in the region. Because here we can have no fear to call or speak with our Maronite or Christian brothers and sisters in other countries. And because the government and our security forces, they know that we do that for humanitarian things and for family ties or for any other reason, without hurting or harming the state of Israel. This is not our intention when we speak, and so they understand that, and they don't punish us, and they don't, even though Lebanon actually and other countries in the region, some of them are defined enemies countries, but we still enjoy this freedom. So the Christian population in Israel contain Greek Catholics, a Greek, which is Belkites, we call Belkites, a Greek Orthodox, Maronites, a little bit Syriac Orthodox, a little bit less than that Syriac Catholics, some Armenians, Latin, which we call Roman Catholic Church, which is very also not big one. And we all live here since the independence of Israel in 1948. We grew in numbers since that time. We were 50,000, around 48,000 people, 50,000 people. Today we are, as I said, 181,000 people. We live in cities like Haifa, Nazareth, other villages in Shfar'am or Shfa'amer, as we call it.
and other Christian villages in the Galilee, mainly in the north of Israel. So majority of us live in the north of Israel, Galilee region, which is the line of Haifa, Nazareth, and north. You have a little bit Christians living in Tel Aviv area, Tel Aviv, Jaffa or Yafo, Ramle and Lod, which is around maybe 5,000 people, and another block of Christians living in Jerusalem, about 7,000, 10,000 people maximum. That's the Israeli Christian population. Now, as an Israeli citizen, I enjoy the same equal rights and equal, even actually not equal duties, equal rights, like all other citizens of the state. Duties not, because you know that the Jews and Druze citizens of Israel serve in the IDF in compulsory, and Christians and Muslims are not serving in the IDF as a compulsory. They are volunteers. So this is not equal in duties, but with all that, we still actually get the same equal rights like all other citizens of the state. And we enjoy one order of law. We are having our church schools. We have 29 church schools. Unfortunately, they chose to teach Arab Islamic curriculum and not teaching their own history and language and identity, and that's from the fear of Arab political parties and Islamists that live in the country. And I don't think they have the courage to change this curriculum because you know what happens then. Next, they will be attacked, their schools will be attacked, or their population will be attacked. So they fear from changes, and I'm talking from experience. I led a committee of priests in the Ministry of Education to change this subject and to fix the curriculum. The country and the Ministry of Education accepted that with a budget, a huge budget that would come to the Christian schools, but they were fearing from the reaction of the Arab political parties, which, as you know, they are pan-Arabist extremists and other Islamic brotherhood movement that exists here. So they wanted the state to impose that by force, and the state said, no, you cannot expect that I impose on you something if you don't request it. You need to request it officially, and then I will actually accept your request and give you the budget. I deserve also to have, as a state, when I do something good for you, to have a good news, or this event will be published as a good news, giving you what you needed, not imposed on you, and then you will ruin our reputation. So that's how Christian reactions, and most of you here are Christians and know the facts, how most of our Christians are dhimmis and act as a dhimmis in the country, and they prefer to talk, let's say, on behalf of the Arab cause, and which is Islamic cause, as I see it. This is in my opinion, and less about talking the truth and liberate themselves for speaking the truth. And that's actually drag us into problem, because the Western Christians and people in the West that want to help you, they don't know the truth. And by not knowing the truth, they can't know how they should help you, if it was in Israel, or if it was in Lebanon, or if it was in Syria, or in any other country surrounding us here. So I, for example, give you an example, very myself, example of my experience. I grew up in a village which is a Maronite majority town in north of Israel called Jish. And this village, actually, we are very close to the Lebanese border. And I saw many of my community during the Lebanese, they call it Lebanese civil war. I don't call it civil war. I call it jihadist, Islamists who attack Maronite and Christians of Lebanon for being Christians only and for dominating or establishing a state of themselves. And they wanted to destroy it. They wanted to destroy this state that Christians feel free and act freely in it. So, and that's what we see in Lebanon still going on, actually. That's why most of our people migrated. And I see it that they don't want to have Christians in Lebanon enjoy stability, because if you will enjoy stability in the country, majority of a Christian diaspora and very intellectual and educated and successful businessmen and entrepreneurs will come back to Lebanon, invest in Lebanon, and live in Lebanon, and they will become a majority again. And so if you enjoy stability, that's the result, and result what will happen. So they prefer to have Lebanon always unstable country, have wars, and Israel is always excuse for them, for the Muslim and Arabs in the region. And this way they know that Lebanon will never ever be again a free country, liberated country, Western values prosper in it, and enjoying peace with its neighbors and specifically with Israel. So I saw this war as war against my people as well, because that's true, I'm Israeli. I'm proud Israeli citizens. I'm happy I'm living in Israel, and I am lucky to live in Israel, I can say, because I could be living in Lebanon if the French and the British mandate decided to move the border just a little bit south. And then I will be ended up maybe under Hezbollah control in South Lebanon, or being an SLA person fighting against these enemies that came to wipe out a Christian population of South Lebanon. So they formed the SLA at the end. And then those enemies were called Palestinians at the beginning, with other jihadi groups that joined them. Or leftist, and I don't know what you call them. Everyone call it a different way. But that's where I saw that my country, Israel, with its forces, came to defend the Christians, were fighting side by side with Christians, not only SLA, with other Christians, to defend the Christians from annihilation. And we saw letters from Prime Minister Menachem Begin talking about this, how we sacrifice the Israeli youth and soldiers to defend and rescue and save Christians from annihilation. Now, in war was a lot of mistakes, and I'm not going to go into those mistakes, but that's fact. If Israel didn't intervene, I'm not sure that the Christians will survive anymore in Lebanon back then. So that's what I saw, and I grew up loving my country, and I served in this country as an IDF officer, and I become successful, and thank God everything was open to me, and many others are following the steps of joining the IDF and serving the country and defending Israel as democratic state, because this country allowed them the freedom. And they worry for their families and for their people as Christians, that if this country will not stand and be strong, they will not exist as well, because the jihadists, as you saw them before in your country in Lebanon and in Syria, they will take over here, and they will treat them as not second-class citizens, as 10th-class citizens, and they actually will either butcher them or they will flee from their original homelands. So they prefer to have this state of Israel strong and enjoy the freedom of it. And that's example for how, today about 30% Christians join the IDF, by the way. And there are about 1,200 Muslims, not only Christians, joining the IDF. And so that's the country. If the country, as you know, was a country that people feel not welcomed in it, people will not stay here, and they will not actually be just thriving and in large numbers from 50,000 or 48,000 people to 181,000 people. We saw in Syria, it's from 2 million, they become 500,000. We saw in Iraq from 1.5 million, they become 150,000 people. In Lebanon, why most of the diaspora is living outside the Lebanon and not only maybe 1 million Christians now or 1.5 million Christians living in Lebanon? Why not more? So that's what we see declining in other countries. Here we see an increasing in numbers. And another thing I can tell you, I spoke about education. We spoke about service to the country. We see a lot in national and civil service, also going to national and civil service. We saw many in positions, in different positions in the government. We saw like we have ambassadors in Israeli ambassadors are Christians from the Greek Orthodox community, for example. We saw the Supreme Court judge is a Maronite, was a Maronite. His name is Salim Jubran. He passed away a few years ago, like 2 years ago, I think. And we saw many others that become in different positions. I myself was a candidate for the parliament as a parliament member for the Knesset within a Jewish party called Israel Beiteinu back then. So we can see that all is open for you. Now, if you want even to go and not participate and you don't want to be part and talk badly against the state is not harming you and not doing anything for you because you have free speech. But if you spy against the country and if you are acting against the country in purpose to hurt the country, not to make peace for the country, then the state is like any other state, have the right to actually work against it. You guys in Lebanon or wherever it is, you are my brothers and sisters, and I would like more courageous people to speak out so we can enjoy this peace finally and go and visit each other's and have enjoyed this calm and tranquility and the good life of our region as it's supposed to be. To remind you, and I will finish here, there was a research in 1942 in the Jewish Agency, and it is in the Zionist Central Archive in Jerusalem. This research was done by Dr. Edmund Meyer in June 24, 1942. And in this research, we can see a section about Maronite Jewish Zionism. Now, in this research, you have the speech of the Maronite patriarch, Anton Arida, from 1937, spring 1937, and I will read it for you, and this will summarize the vision and how we are acting here as a Maronite and Christians with our Aramaic movement to revive and preserve our language and identity. And this actually what lead us in our actions here in Israel. And hopefully, I can tell you that this is the best vision for our region too, and for us as a people, Maronite and Jews here to adopt, and Lebanese and Jews to adopt for peace. That's the speech. He said, the Jews are not only our ancestors, but also, he said that in the synagogue of Beirut, not only our ancestors, but also our brethren. We are of the same origins. We speak almost the same language. Our fathers are your fathers. We are proud to be the sons of the same race. We owe everything to Judaism. Our doctrines are derived from your law. We sincerely desire that productive and enduring relations be established between us and the Jews in general and Zionists in particular. We want to help one another, and we wish wholeheartedly that God may save the Jews from persecutions which they are suffering in an unjust and inhuman way, both in Germany and in Palestine. I want to assure you, children of Israel, who are expelled from Germany and not friendly received by the Arabs of Palestine, that there is a room for us and for you in Lebanon. It is already a long time that His Beatitude has been considering such a scheme. By his orders, we have tried to influence the authorities to permit the Jews to enter the Lebanon. Since then, nothing, and that's the conclusion, since then, nothing seems to have transpired about relations between Jews and Maronites. It will be clear from our next and last chapter that there are some analogies in the national life of the two peoples which perhaps have attracted the attention of the Maronite leaders. In this case, it may be possible that there is something more at the bottom of the friendly words which we have heard, and that in the future these minorities will still have to say and to give something one to another. And that's what we are doing today, my friends. We still have a lot to give one to another, and the Christians in Israel can be the bridge for you for making this peace possible between Lebanese and Israelis, and hopefully with federal Lebanon, which would be much better.
Thank you, Shadi. Definitely Christians thrive under the rule of law, not under chaotic environments and other uncivilized laws. Thank you, Shadi. Just to remind you about the order of speakers, after Shadi will be Eddie, our distinguished guest tonight, and then Maryam, Stealth, and then Dan and Selena. And after that, we open the floor for everybody to ask questions. Thank you. To you, Avi.
Wait, what about Carlos?
Yes, Carlos as well. Carlos after Dan.
Okay.
So it would be Eddie, Maryam, Stealth, Dan, Carlos, and Selena. Would that work?
Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
Eddie, you want to step up?
Hello, shalom to everyone. I don't know, where do I belong? I am Israeli from Lebanese origin. I lived in Lebanon as a Jew, Lebanese Jew, during more than 18 years. At age 18, I left Lebanon because the persecution of the Hezbollah, not the persecution of the Lebanese. I repeat, Hezbollah persecution. The Lebanese government didn't harm us. I mean the Jewish of Lebanon. We were during the 60s. We were some 7,000 Jewish. It's a lot for a small state. 10,000 kilometers, it's a big, it was a relatively big community. They left most of them, they left during the 75, during the first civil war, and then during the war. Hezbollah kidnapped 11 Jews in the 85. Among them, my father, of course, and they killed them because Hezbollah wanted to make a deal to release his hostages from Israel. So this is like 7th of October, we had it in Lebanon, but not the Lebanese government was responsible. Unfortunately, the Lebanese government couldn't save us as a minority who lived under Lebanon government authority. But the Hezbollah killed not only the Jewish hostages, Hezbollah kidnapped French, Michel Sora, he killed him, many American TWA, they kidnapped planes, they killed, I don't remember, dozens of foreigners were killed at this time, including the Jewish Lebanese. So I have two issues to speak this, two topics. One, the first one, the Lebanese, including me, we cannot live with Hezbollah mentality, ideology. We cannot. I'm saying Hezbollah, I'm not saying the Shiite. I had friends Shiite from Lebanon. They are not all Hezbollah. They are not all of them like Hezbollah. The Shiite community is not Hezbollah. We have to make a distinction between the Shiite and the Hezbollah. Hezbollah under the Iran ideology, Wilayat al-Faqih, this is something else. So I see Lebanon, I see the Christian Republic of Lebanon, and I see another state of Hezbollah, a Shiite maybe in Lebanon. I don't see a Lebanon. I think we cannot live. We as a Lebanese, I said, with the Hezbollah, with this hate, with this ideology of death, we cannot and we must not. So for me, peace, we can make peace with the Christian Lebanese Republic. Lebanon must be divided. I know that it's the hope of many Lebanese. They cannot say it. I say it because I live here in Israel. I'm free. We cannot live together. This is the first topic. Second topic, I'm going to be short because it's Shabbat. We have dinner. The second topic, I think Israel cannot make peace unless the Iranian regime collapse. I tell you why. It's different now. Now it's the age of money. The Saudis, the Qataris won't let any Lebanese president, including Joseph Aoun, to make peace with Israel. 3 weeks ago, the president of Indonesia was supposed to come to Israel. He's supposed to come. But this leaked in the one of the reporters published this visit. The Saudis called them and told them not to go. Maybe they gave them money, maybe they threatened him, I don't know. Saudis and the Qataris will not let any Lebanese president make peace with Israel. It's a question of money. The Saudis always tell the Lebanese, kick Hezbollah out, I will let 1 million of tourists in the region, the Gulf region, to come to Israel. Qatar will pay money, millions, billions. No Lebanese president can make this. This is a lot of pressure. So we have unless the regime of Iran will collapse, then Israel will make peace with the new regime with Iran. So we will have a peace between Israel and the new Iran, and then the Arabs will have no choice to make peace with us. This is the only scenario that I can see it. The Saudis, the Qataris will not let the Lebanese make peace with Israel. They will buy them. They will, I don't know. With with their money, they can do anything. So this is, I repeat, the only way we have. First of all, we will have to make peace with the Christians, with the Christian Lebanese Republic, because the Shiite Hezbollah will not accept. Hezbollah is still here. Once the Iranian regime will fall, will collapse, this is something else. But for the moment, no, it's impossible. So first of all, I hope that this regime will fall, the Iranian regime. Then there will be another regime in Iran, a new regime. Reza Pahlavi will make, he said it, I didn't say it, he said it. The first thing I will make when I will, with the new Iran government, we will make peace and normalization with Israel. At this moment, the Arabs will have to make peace with Israel. They will feel they have to. Look, for example, now, what happens now? Everyone is attacking the Emiratis. Everyone. everyone is attacking the Accord Abraham. So I will be happy to discuss this. I promise you to be short. So this is my view. Let's see. Thank you very much. This is a great opportunity for all of us. I said it before, what dispute we have between Israel and Lebanese. As a Lebanese and also Israeli, I don't see dispute. Only some in the frontiers, some 100 meters or 200 meters. We don't have any dispute. We must make peace together. We are not enemies. Our enemies are the look what's going on today. They are killing Kurdish. This Islamist regime, the jihadi fascist, this is not a problem. It's not our subject. But we here, first of all, we the Jews, the Christians, we was here before all of them. We was here, the Jewish and the Christian was here before all the Islams. I see the Masjid al-Bani Umayyah in Damascus. They are proud of this. This was a Byzantine Christian synagogue, not synagogue, Église. So we are the first. They come and killed us and slaughtered us. So I repeat, peace with Lebanon and Israel is a must, and we have to work, and you have to, especially the Lebanese, put pressure on the Lebanese government, president. And the problems are the Arabs, not Iran even, the Saudis and the Qataris. When we recognized Somaliland, they got crazy, the Saudis. They got crazy. So this is what will be if they hear that Lebanon and Israel will normalize. They will boycott Lebanon. The Arabs, the Saudis and the Qataris especially. So this is our future problem, the Arabs, not Iran. Believe me. Thank you very much. I'm listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eddie. We agree with your proposal as Team Cedar Accords. We want an independent Mount Lebanon to make peace with Israel. But I want to say to Qatari and Saudi, Mount Lebanon and Christians are not for sale. We are more valuable than their money. Thank you. And now for our first lady for tonight would be Maryam Younes, our next speaker. She will provide us with a perspective on her life as a Lebanese Maronite exiled to Israel. To you, Maryam.
Hi, everyone. And thank you so much for having me in this space that to me is kind of making all my dreams come true. I mean, my bigger dream obviously is to have peace and to go back to my country. But for now, like just having this space and people from both sides talking is just, to me, I'll start by saying that my father was a commander in the Southern Lebanese Army. So in 2000, I was 5 years old when we were exiled from our country because we were forced to flee due to the withdrawal of the IDF from southern Lebanon and obviously the takeover of Hezbollah over the south. So we were forced to run away to Israel as they were our allies. And I still remember that night actually very clearly when I was in the car with my mom. My sister was 4 years old. I was 5. My other sister was 20 days old. And my grandpa came to my mom that was crying and he was like, "Why are you crying? It's just a week. Like you're going for a week. It's a vacation and then you will come back. Don't worry." And 25 years later, I actually grew up in Israel and my community managed not only to integrate, but also assimilate to the Israel in a way that I don't think there is any presidential examples to it. I grew up, and my community, I grew up in a Jewish school. I spoke Hebrew with my friends. I celebrated with them Hanukkah and Passover, and then I was speaking Arabic at home and celebrating Christmas.
I can hear Maryam. It's me?
Oh, we can't hear Maryam anymore. We're waiting.
Maryam dropped down. You need to send her a microphone.
Okay.
I see her as a speaker.
Yeah, I see her as a speaker too.
I see her as a listener. She needs to send her a mic, or she needs to leave the room and come back in. Yeah.
All right. All good? Maryam?
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry. I don't know where you stopped hearing me. Can someone give me an indication?
I think you said something about the president. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. I said there is no presidential example to how our community managed to integrate. So I grew up in a Jewish school, and I grew up speaking with my friends in Hebrew, celebrating Jewish holidays with them, and then speaking Arabic and celebrating Christmas and Christian holidays at home, and watching Lebanese TV shows and Lebanese news. So I always grow up in this multicultural environment that allowed me to understand both the Israeli side and the Lebanese and the Arab world, obviously. So from a very young age, I felt as a bridge between people, between nations, between religions. And from a very young age, I felt this activism in me that no one is talking about our story, because we are portrayed as traitors in Lebanon, and Lebanese people are terrified to speak about us. And our history kind of were erased and changed in a brutal way. So growing up, wanting to be this voice and wanting to hear people speaking my story and my point of view, I became this voice. And right now I'm creating content for millions of Arabic speakers in the Middle East about my life in Israel, my views, my community, being a Lebanese living in Israel, just bringing the Lebanese voice, the Maronite voice, the Christian presence in the Middle East that is very kind of extincting, as many have said before. So this year I was chosen by Forbes Israel to be on the list of 30 under 30, which is huge honor. And I feel that we need more voices like myself, people, Lebanese people that are not afraid to say the truth, that are not afraid to argue over our past, our history, our facts. We want peace. It's time to change the Middle East. And while we are watching other countries such as the Emiratis and Bahrainis and actually the people who were mostly against peace, that are actually stepped the first step toward agreements, and us as Lebanese, that we had connections, as Shadi said before, not able even to speak about peace without being afraid to be imprisoned. This is, to me, is a failure of us as, as Maronites, as Christians, as proud Lebanese. I feel that we need more people who are not afraid to speak up. I do believe that Lebanon is able to be a state for all Lebanese under, a Lebanese law, a state that is prosper a state that is, the beauty of the Middle East, in my opinion, is the multiculturalism that we have here. So I don't think we need to erase one religion or one people just in order to live in peace. I do believe that we need to enhance the moderate voices. We need to find ways to punish the extremism and punish extremists and push them out of the conversation that unfortunately is kind of controlled right now by them and by the fear and terror that they are imposing. So to me, as a Lebanese Israeli, many ask me, how did you grow up in this double and this duality? And I say, it's very easy. The moment you have the same values, and I see Israelis and Lebanese as nations and as people with the same values. We love life. We love innovation. We love to have fun. We love to go out. We love our neighbors. We love to party. We love food. So in my opinion, when people have the same values, it's very easy to feel, both Israeli and both Lebanese. Obviously, our story as Southern Lebanese Army, that we were left out by our country and kind of, we were kind of pushed to go to leave our country because we didn't have any other, solution back then. I think that for us, obviously our story is tragic, but I think that God, as we say in Arabic, God gave us this cross in order to be this voice, in order to show each side the other side. Because unfortunately, obviously now with the media and everything we see, it feels like it's a very evil world and that we will never be able to live with each other. But to me, every day I look and search for the positivity and for the things that bring us together and for the common ground and mutual values, as I said before. And to me, this is what each and every one of us should bring to the table and should take forward to, in others said, to the USA Trump's administration, which I truly believe that more voices like ours should be on the table, should speak up, should say that we want peace, we want proper agreements because we are sick of wars. We are sick of war after war, people that need to leave their homes. My family is still in southern Lebanon. I can't talk to them. I can't be in touch with them. It's crazy to me that they are kind of like half an hour from me and I can't even go to visit them. So when I watched the war unfolding from northern Israel, so we lived like the war even harder because we live in northern Israel, but we see what's going on in southern Lebanon. And I see how my village, which wasn't obviously evacuated because we are a Christian village, but I see how we keep paying the price of war after war. And it just breaks my heart how we became, as Lebanese, very weak and very unable even to speak up and to say that we are sick of this and we want to live in our country as we deserve, as humans. We deserve the minimum rights of growing up and send our kids to school without going through a war after war. So I'm 30 years old and I think I witnessed 4 or 5 wars in my life. This is crazy. This is crazy to me. So I'm very excited to be part of this initiative, and I hope that we will see others and we will see more voices like ours that are brave, because it's not enough to have 1 or 2 voices. We need all voices. We need more voices. We need more people in charge to speak up like us. And hopefully we will see this movement grow. And I'm very optimistic, and I feel that we are going toward a peace agreement and the peace and the new Middle East. Thank you.
Thank you, Maryam. Thank you very much. To you, Avi.
Yes. Now we're going to Stealth. Stealth is someone I met on my personal journey toward always finding the truth. I recommend everybody to join her spaces, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Avi. Thank you, everybody. It's good to see Maryam. We haven't spoken in so long. At the beginning of the war, she came to our spaces. It was great to hear her voice. It's so important. And sometimes I go into the Arabic spaces and I listen to Eddie screaming, which is always nice. I don't understand what he's saying, but I hear it's quite well deserved and dramatic for others. So, anyways, everybody retweet this face. So, I've been covering the war since October 7th. My father grew up in Kiryat Shmone under the constant shelling of cartouches from Lebanon. It's just a reality. After the war, the cemetery where my namesake, my great grandmother, is buried, was shelled repeatedly by Hezbollah. I have such a history and a memory of my dad also served in Lebanon. He was in two Sayeret positions there. So I heard his stories of that experience. And then I grew up with a grandfather on the other side of my family who had a joint restaurant with a Lebanese Christian guy. It was half kosher restaurant, half non-kosher Lebanese in a cafe in a building. Don't even ask. It was wonderful. So I've always had a fondness to Lebanese people for sure. And of course, we have the lovely Brigitte Gabriel in America. So we get to own a piece of Christian Lebanese women and her amazing mind. So I just try for people to understand my love and affection for Lebanon, where it comes from. My grandmother on the other side, since I was little, would play Lebanese belly dancers on the TV when we were little, and she would listen to the music while she was baking in the house. So, I have this affection for a country I've never been to, but I do understand the geopolitical implications. And so something that Eddie said to me is something very similar to my thoughts. Some of us are struggling as Jews. I don't live in Israel. I have family, obviously, that lives in Israel, with what's happening now in Gaza in terms of outside forces imposing on the country what they should do or not. And I'm a very big believer that the Lebanese people should be able to decide the fate of their own country. A lot of countries are plagued with a tremendous amount of corruption, and it's usually brought in, by external factors. And this is something that always poisons the well. And it's very hard to get back on your feet when corruption has gotten in there. There is a tremendous amount of an opportunity now, while you have Donald Trump in office, to fix things very quickly. It's going to be extremely painful. It's like ripping the corruption out of the roots, because sometimes the good roots are blended with the corruption, simply because you have to sustain a country for years. I can tell you my greatest concern is the threat of Syria upon the Lebanese borders and the sovereignty of Lebanon. I have no fear or concern of any sovereignty issues with Israel and Lebanon, and I hope the Lebanese people don't. It is not in their character in any way, shape, or form. I was in a space a long time ago with some people that work with Elon Musk, and I had made a statement like, how great would it be for Elon Musk to build a factory that bridges between Lebanon and Israel? And then nobody's going to be able to bomb it or do anything because there would be protections there. There's opportunity for good investment and good business and creative business. And I can say that, your territorial sovereignty is the most important thing, and your culture is the most important thing. And to have foreign investment come in from certain countries, and I'm going to include Turkey in this, is a concern. Maybe Turkey will change later under different leadership. Anything is possible. Anything is literally possible. But the Islamic Republic of Iran and that influence in the country is foreign to your country. It's literally foreign. Has nothing to do with your history whatsoever, or your personality, or your love of life, or anything like that. And it should stay where it is. And you need to create a very strong campaign, social media campaign all over the world, to explain exactly the Lebanese Christian Phoenician culture. There's a joke that Steve Bannon said, "Oh, we need to make a Christian country again in the Middle East." And I said, "Great, make it Lebanon." I said, no offense to anybody in here who's not Christian or Jewish, but make it Lebanon. This is something that you have a certain particular flavor all over the world. It's pushing a certain type of wrong Christian nationalism. I think Lebanon could be the positive Christian nationalism of a country where it embraces other religions, obviously, but that it set itself aside as a place where people can celebrate the religion in the Middle East that has been forced out in so many ways, right? So I think there's a lot of opportunity. The biggest concern is the threat from Syria and the threat from Iran and the threat from Turkey on Lebanon. And right now you have a chance, don't end up like the situation in Gaza where an element, causes war to destroy your country for no reason. And I think that a proper story needs to be told about what's going on in Lebanon. It's very diluted. It's very confusing to most. And I've spent enough time understanding it, and even this takedown of Venezuela, would be interesting to see the results, that the upstream effect, I guess, to Lebanon, how that is going to affect the years of interactions between, Hezbollah in South America and other countries as well. So you have beautiful, beautiful land, and it needs to be advertised in a way that independent investment into that region can be used to also not just build up the business, but also create a wall against foreign invaders, so to speak. And that's the way you should be looking at things, is how to partner in the tech sector, partner in a sector of manufacturing and business that can bridge a relationship both with Israel and Lebanon. And I'm going to keep it for right now. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Next, we're moving on to Dan, which has a book about our region and our situation right now. A great book. And
I wanted to say Shabbat Shalom. Avi, sorry, I want to say Shabbat Shalom to everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Avi. Hello, everyone. I want to thank you for organizing this space and for the effort and courage behind this movement. And I'm honored to be included in this movement from the beginning. I want to speak at the outset to the many Christian Lebanese who are listening anonymously in this space. People who cannot openly join a space calling for peace, but they can publicly join a space calling for war without consequence. That reality tells us everything we need to know about the conditions of the Christians in Lebanon. Benjamin Franklin once said that those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Christian Lebanon, they chose security and sacrificed freedom, but in the end, they lost both. Just 5 minutes south of Christian villages in southern Lebanon, villages barely surviving, Jews who chose freedom are thriving and have been thriving for the past century. 15 minutes away in Cyprus, Christians who rejected submission asserted their identity and defended their sovereignty and preserved their future. So Lebanese Christians, sadly, they confused freedom of lifestyle choices, what to wear, what to drink, because we are free to drink whatever we want, we're free to wear whatever we want. They confused that with the freedom. That is not freedom. There is no freedom. Christians in Lebanon are slaves. The day Patriarch Huwayik invited those who pledged allegiance to the Caliphate of Sharif Hussein in 1918 to co-write the Constitution of Lebanon, Christians in Lebanon surrendered their political freedom. And of course, everything flowed from that mistake. I want to talk about 3 points. The first one is the impossibility of coexistence. Because listen, I don't like to waste time, and this space would be like wasting time if we don't address the core problem. So number one, the impossibility of coexistence. I just wrote something today on X here. I said a Muslim leader can impose a semi-secular order on a Muslim population in only 2 ways. The first is sustained economic prosperity, like the United Arab Emirates, for example. you can force them to the population to accept semi-secular order. The second is coercion, like Egypt or Jordan. But even in these cases, what exists is tolerance, not equality. Christians in Jordan, Christians in the United Arab Emirates, Christian in Malaysia, Christian or non-Muslims in Malaysia. It's like in the 56 Islamic countries, non-Muslims don't enjoy the same rights as Muslims. 0 countries out of the 56 Islamic countries, non-Muslims enjoy the same rights as Muslims. So even when Muslims are not the majority, for example, in Nigeria or in India, they put pressure and enforce Islamic norms on the society. So they don't even have to include that norms in the constitutions, but through intimidation, violence, and social control. So coexistence is not possible. Real coexistence in any Islamic majority country requires, and please listen to this, this is very important. Real coexistence in an Islamic majority country, or not even majority, requires the majority of Muslims to reject Islamic political theology as a governing principle. And that simply does not exist. Because Islam is not a religion, as I always say. Islam has a religion. And as it has a religion, it also has a political system. So if you're a Muslim, you're not only a monotheist, you are a monocrat. You believe in one God and one legitimate source of law. You know the concept called al-Hakimiyya, which is the belief that sovereignty belongs to Allah alone, and any human legislation is illegitimate. You know, academics, they say, oh, you know, al-Hakimiyya was made up by Sayyid Qutb in the mid-20th century. That is not true. Al-Hakimiyya, or Sayyid Qutb, he articulated in Al-Hakimiyya what already existed in the Muslim imagination. He did not invent it. So from the beginning, the Muslim population in Lebanon could not accept that a land viewed as part of Dar al-Islam could be ruled by non-Muslims. Lebanon, and of course, their rejection manifested in many ways. First, Lebanon was forced into the Arab-Israeli conflict. Christian Lebanese had nothing to do with that conflict, but of course, they were forced into it. Then Arab nationalism, or it's like the same rejection was masqueraded as Arab nationalism, and it was used to undermine successful Christian leadership in the 50s and in the 60s. And we know the revolution under social justice slogans and things like that. But of course, it was the same thing. Then you have the civil war. The civil war. Sunni Muslims in Lebanon, they considered their Muslim Palestinian fighters closer to them than their Lebanese Christian citizens. I'm not making this up. I'm not accusing anyone. This is fact, okay? Just remember, when King Hussein in Jordan massacred, slaughtered the Palestinian fighters, the Arab countries, they didn't do much. There were like a few statements from here or there. But when the Christian Lebanese tried to defend their country, every single Arab country stood against the Christians. And they said, no, you cannot touch our Palestinian brothers. You can't. Why? Because they're Christians. So there is no way for any form of coexistence to take place in an Islamic country. And of course, Hezbollah finished the job, and the Lebanese Shia population, they sided with their brothers, Iranian brothers, over their Christian Lebanese brothers. So it's the same pattern. If you don't see it, that's your problem. So coexistence is impossible. Second, why peace with Israel is different for Lebanon. Peace between Lebanon and Israel is not the same as peace between Israel and Arab states. Egypt, Jordan, the United Arab Emirates, these are Muslim-ruled states making decisions regardless of the opinion of their population. They're Muslim leaders. Lebanon is not a sovereign Christian state. It is a captured, fragmented entity. Any attempt to replicate Camp David, Wadi Araba, or the Abrahamic Accords will fail for three reasons. You cannot do the same kind of peace that Jordan did, or Egypt, or even the Gulf states. The first reason is we don't have a Christian leadership that can coerce a Muslim majority into real peace with Israel. That is impossible. The Christian leadership in Lebanon is seen by a big part of the population as illegitimate. So, and they're calling for immortality. They want Christians to take only third of the representation. And of course, it's like we see where is this going. It's like the trajectory. So Christian leadership cannot coerce a Muslim majority into real peace with Israel. So please, for God's sake, stop saying we want the Cedar Accords to be like the Abrahamic Accord. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You're wasting time. You're wasting everybody's time. Number two, the rise of the Sunni Islamic Caliphate in Syria will harden the Sunni position toward Israel in Lebanon. So now we are seeing the radicalization of the Lebanese arena further and further. Just look at the mosques in Tripoli, in Beirut, in Cedar, and you will see they are importing all kinds of imams, and they are reviving the Sunni Islamic jihad. Do you really think that you can force these people to do peace? Come on. And you're not a Muslim. You're not a Muslim leader. You're not like Mohammed bin Zayed or King Abdullah. Come on. So, third, the demographic factor. It's like everybody in Lebanon. Remember when Najib Mikati, the prime minister, said, Christians are 19% of the population. And yesterday, this argument was actually resurfaced, and everybody was talking about how Christians in Lebanon, they're like a small minority. According to the elections records, Muslims in Lebanon are 200%, but Christians take 50% of the representation. So this argument is going to grow and develop over time, and they will keep pushing for it, because eventually it doesn't matter if the Christians in Lebanon owns 64% of the land. Who cares? Who cares if you own the land or not? It's like at the end of the day, the numbers are going to make all the difference, and you don't have the numbers. So this demographic factor is very important. Christians are losing political weight. Any forced peace will evolve into a hostile arrangement under Muslim dominance. So peace between Lebanon and Israel cannot exist, or peace cannot exist between Israel and this Lebanon. Peace can only exist between Israel and a Christian Lebanese political entity, one with autonomy, borders, and security authority. Without that, peace is a fantasy. My third point is about security. The Middle East is entering a new phase. The Sunni-Shia conflict has been sustained for 14 centuries. And what we are witnessing today is the reignition under new conditions. You have Sunni revival on one side, and you have a weakened and disparate Shia axis on the other. And the Christians in Lebanon, they are in the middle, geographically and politically. So, of course, to the north and the east, you have the barbaric Sunni Islamic Caliphate in Syria, which is going to grow and grow more and more, thanks to the Qatari and Saudi money, and thanks to the United States blessing of that arrangement. And you have, to the south and within, you have the Shia factions who will not surrender power peacefully, because they learned from history what happens to minorities, including Shia, when they surrender, when they submit to the Sunni subjugation. So Christians are caught in the middle, and they will pay the price of this conflict unless they remove themselves from it. And neutrality is not enough. You cannot say بعبدة declaration, إعلان بعبدة. We need to neutralize ourselves. We have nothing to do with this. It's like, no, that's not going to work. Even if the Christians in Lebanon say, I don't side with the Sunni or with the Shia, راح تدعوس بالإجرين. So it's not going to work. Appeasement is a suicide, because look what happened to Lebanon since the beginning, and look to the Jews, the Israeli model. Come on. The Israeli model from the beginning, in the Declaration of Independence in 1948, Israel, invited all Arab people to come and join the Jews in building a great state with rights for everyone. But of course, everybody understood that Jewish sovereignty is non-negotiable. But Christians in Lebanon, they wanted to, do this experiment. Let's try to coexist. Let's try to write the constitution together. Yeah. How did that work out for you? So peace with Israel has a precondition. Christians must first demand political autonomy. Without autonomy, peace is impossible, and Christians remain hostages. Lebanon remains a battlefield for other people's wars. And of course, it's too late for Christians in Lebanon to replicate the Israeli model, where the Muslims population live freely but cannot undermine the strategic state decisions, because it's too late. The only way forward is Christian autonomy, and talk about peace before this is a waste of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we move on to Carlos. Thank you, Dan. Carlos, you want to introduce yourself?
Statements itself. Sorry, did you call my name?
Yeah.
Yes,
finally.
Yeah.
Okay, hello. Thanks for having me, everybody. So I have to say that so much was said that let me first start by saying the parts I agree with. I don't disagree with much, but I'll first start by what I agree with. I take it from, especially from Eddie, that the prospects of peace with the Republic of Lebanon are nil. Everybody kept saying, get rid of Hezbollah and everything is fine and dandy. The problem is, Hezbollah is basically gone, or will be gone in a couple of months. But what comes after Hezbollah? After Hezbollah comes tutelage from whoever's going to fund the reconstruction. And that's going to be the bad guys. It's going to be Saudi, Qatar, and they're never going to allow for normalization. They may allow for returning to the armistice, something that leaves Lebanon in their camp, but spares Lebanon the pain of periodic wars. The problem is that then Lebanon will be in a state of war forever. And the fate of you Christians is very grim aside from all of the other standpoints that were mentioned, the economic factor. Lebanon, nobody says that among the Lebanon talking heads, and I'm surprised they don't. But it's a war economy. Lebanon is really North Korea. It's completely isolated from the its surroundings and the world. It has some connectivity with Syria, but that's about it. It is completely closed economically and financially to the outside world. Now, a Lebanon in peace would look very different economically. Lebanon, remember, a few years ago, it was a $50 billion economy. With peace, it can easily be a $100 billion economy. But we've already established the Republic of Lebanon is not going to get there. Now, the economic incentives for Mount Lebanon are even greater, because Mount Lebanon is where the human capital resides and where the ability to generate an even higher level of income is, it's natural because of the level of education and the culture. So having said that, it had been for me for a long time a dream to make peace between Israel and Lebanon, precisely because I perceived Lebanese people as being the culturally closest to Jews and Israeli people. But let's accept it. That's just the Christians of Lebanon, so they have to find their own course. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Carlos. We move on to Selena.
Yeah.
So, Selena?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, now I can hear you.
Awesome. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Selena. I'm an Israeli independent journalist and political analyst. And for the past 2 years, I have worked actively to try and understand how we can make peace with Lebanon a reality, because we're talking about it for so long. So I would like to begin firstly by saying that it is a profound honor to speak here today in the presence of such distinguished guests. And I do believe that we're making history, like a history rooted in connection and friendship, and in the revival of the ties between our brotherly peoples. Israelis and Lebanese are not strangers divided by faith. We are neighbors shaped by the same soil, the same sea, and a shared ancient world. Long before the modern borders today, the Levant was home to intertwined people of the Canaanite cultural sphere. The Phoenician cities along today's Lebanese coast and the ancient Israelites of the interior, we spoke related languages, traded with one another, and drew from the same civilizational roots. Our history diverged, but it didn't begin apart. And we are branches of the same ancient Levantine tree. What broke this natural possibility of friendship between us was not geography, culture, or destiny. It was politics imported from elsewhere. Lebanon was pulled into wars that were not its own. First, when terrorists, so-called Palestinians, led by Yasser Arafat, relocated their terrorist fight against Israel into Lebanese territory in the 70s, and they dragged an already fragile country into regional conflict it never sought or wanted. Later, through Hezbollah, Iranian-backed Islamist militancy entrenched itself in Lebanon again, hijacking Lebanese sovereignty, silencing Lebanese voices, and turning one of the Middle East's most pluralistic societies into a permanent battlefield against Israel. And this has not served Lebanon. It has not served Israel. It has served only ideologies that thrive on perpetual war, not on dignity, prosperity, or self-determination. Islamism and external patronage replaced Lebanese national interest for so long with someone else's agenda, and replaced coexistence with endless confrontation that neither country wished or had any interest in. Today, as we stand here and speak and gather together, we stand at a crossroads. We can continue repeating conflicts imposed by forces that are neither Israeli nor Lebanese, or we can choose something braver. We can choose sovereignty over proxies, opportunity over grievance, and the future over the past. Israel and Lebanon are not meant to be enemies by nature. We are not meant to be neighbors. We are meant to be neighbors who recognize that peace is not betrayal and that friendship is not weakness. So the choice between us today is simple, even if it's not easy. We need to reclaim our region from those who profit from its pain and to build a future grounded in history, reason, and shared humanity. From Israel's side, I do consider that we are ready here. We are ready for peace with the Lebanese people as civilians and as leadership. Our Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has repeatedly stated over the years that Israel has no quarrel with the Lebanese people and that peace with Lebanon remains both possible and desirable. In many speeches to the Israeli parliament, in interviews with the international media, and public statements addressing the Lebanese people, he especially during the past 2 years when we were at war with Hezbollah, Netanyahu has addressed the Lebanese people quite a few times and emphasized that Israel's conflict is against terrorist groups and not with Lebanon as a nation, and has expressed readiness for peaceful relations and even called for it multiple times should Lebanon regain full sovereignty over its borders. Over the past 2 years, I also saw a profound shift that has begun to take place within the Lebanese society. More and more are questioning the long-held taboos, realizing that peace with us should not be forbidden or unthinkable, how it was until now, and understanding that Israelis are not their natural enemies. Many have come to recognize that the forces harming Lebanon are internal and rooted in militancy, corruption, and the loss of sovereignty. On a personal level myself, I have received hundreds of messages during the war in 2024 from Lebanese people from all sects and religions, Muslims, Christians, Druze in Lebanon, expressing gratitude to Israel and to the IDF, and not out of hostility to their own country, but because they felt that the weakening of terrorism offered them, even indirectly, finally, a chance for stability, leadership, and a path towards a better future. I count many Lebanese among my friends, and during the 2024 war, I helped create a small space online that brought Israelis and Lebanese together, a community where for the first time people could feel safe and speak openly about the shared grievances, fears, and hopes for peace. Over time, this space I created grew into something much deeper. We built a friendship on trust, honesty, and human connection, almost like a small family. A lot of them are actually listening now, so I say hi to them. And at the same time, though, yet many Lebanese hesitated to join this group, afraid of the legal and social consequences because they had been taught that it is illegal to speak to Israelis, because it is forbidden to speak with Israelis. This fear-driven absurdity must come to an end. States forbid their citizens from even trivial contact with us because they understand the simple truth. The moment people truly meet, even if online, when they see one another, not as slogans or enemies, but as human beings, the manufactured narratives of the political agendas or religious agendas of this hatred collapse. Doctrines and propaganda and all this political manipulation cannot survive genuine human connection. And I've experienced that firsthand. And this is precisely what we are witnessing now happening between our two countries. Since the last war, this taboo has been broken, and more over time. And Lebanese and Israelis have begun to speak directly, and mentalities are shifting, and truth is slowly piercing through these years of fear, of misinformation, and imposed silence. This does not mean the work is finished. It means it has finally begun to restore and revive our relations. The Lebanese society has been living with the trauma and in fear for so long, burdened by financial difficulties and so many shortcomings, that somewhere along the way it lost the will to fight and lost the ability to dream and to see a better future. And that's how today you have more Lebanese living outside Lebanon than inside Lebanon. And some of the speakers also spoke about this. Like, Lebanon has one of the largest diasporas in the world relative to its population. And what unfortunately the Lebanese leadership still sadly fails to understand is that the Lebanese diaspora is not a loss to Lebanon. It is one of its greatest untapped strengths. Millions of Lebanese now across the world have built businesses, institutions, communities, carrying with them the creativity and resilience that define Lebanon at its best. They did not leave because they rejected Lebanon. They left because Lebanon failed to protect their future. Yet they never truly left its story. I personally know so many Lebanese that live outside of Lebanon, and they're dying to come back, or they're like willing to come and invest in the country, but they don't feel safe to do so at the moment. Lebanon cannot afford to treat its diaspora as a threat, as a demographical fear, or a political inconvenience. It must see it for what it is, a global extension of the nation. Returning to one's roots is not an act of nostalgia, it is an act of responsibility. When Lebanese abroad invest, return, vote, teach, and simply reconnect, they bring with them capital, skills, networks, and perspectives that Lebanon desperately needs to rebuild itself. For too long, the Lebanese state has placed obstacles over obstacles where it should have built bridges. Restrictive citizenship laws, bureaucratic indifference, and political anxiety have discouraged return rather than encouraged renewal. And this must change. A confident nation must welcome its people back. It does not fear them. Facilitating citizenship recovery political participation and economic reintegration is not a concession, it is nation building. So to the Lebanese leadership, I would say, if someone is listening, bring your people home. If Lebanon is to rise again like you claim you want, it will not do so by shrinking inward, but by embracing the full measure of its people at home and abroad, united not by sect or fear, but by a shared commitment to a sovereign and hopeful Lebanon. To the Lebanese diaspora, I want to say that Lebanon should not be only a memory or a passport. It is a project wanting to be reclaimed. Your roots are not chains to the past, they're anchors for the future. And there is a powerful example in our region that speaks directly to this moment. Us, Israel. The Jewish people dispersed for centuries across the world, we never abandoned our ancestral homeland, and in either imagination or responsibility. And when history opened a narrow window of possibility, Jews from every continent returned, not as guests, not as outsiders, but as partners in rebuilding a state. They brought with them languages, professions, capital, and ideas shaped abroad, and they fused them into a national project rooted in history, yet oriented towards the future. The rebuilding of Israel was not the work of those who never left alone. It was the work of a global people who chose to return, of contribution and collective responsibility. This did not happen by accident. It happened because the state understood from the early days a fundamental truth that a nation is strongest when it gathers its people rather than fears them. Laws are designed, up until today, laws are designed to facilitate return. Institutions are built to integrate newcomers, and the diaspora is treated not as a demographic risk, but as a strategic asset. Diversity of background did never weaken the state of Israel. It always strengthened it. And Lebanon, too, has an ancient homeland, a global people, and a history of resilience, much similar to Israel's. What it lacks is not talent or attachment. It lacks a state framework that invites return instead of resisting it. The lesson is not to copy our model, but to learn from its principle, that national revival requires openness, confidence, and trust in one's people. If Lebanon creates the conditions for return, legally, like political and economically, the diaspora will answer immediately. I'm sure of that. Not maybe all will come back permanently, but many will come and invest, engage, and anchor their future once again here. A Lebanon that embraces its diaspora as Israel embraced its people abroad can transform exile into strength and fragmentation into renewal. This is not a dream borrowed from us. It is a path already proven in our region. And if it's possible for us, for one ancient people to rebuild a modern state through return and unity, it can be possible for Lebanon as well if it chooses only to choose the courage over fear, inclusion over exclusion, and the future over paralysis. As for the Lebanese living in Lebanon, no nation can reclaim its future while remaining estranged from its own past. And I come here to add on what Shadi said in his speech earlier. Lebanon's education system is fragmented, sectarian, and very evasive. It does not tell a coherent national story, but rather it avoids one. For decades, the Lebanese students in the schools in Lebanon have been taught an incomplete and diluted version of their own history, one that hesitates to acknowledge Lebanon's pre-Arab and pre-Islamic roots, that marginalizes its Christian and Levantine continuity, and that treats the conquest and later Islamist domination not as historical transformations with consequences, but as neutral inevitabilities. This silence is not accidental. It is born of fear of offending, fear of destabilizing political arrangements, or fear of confronting the hard truths. As a result, we have today generations of Lebanese that have grown up disconnected from who they are. They are taught that Lebanon is Arab. I personally encountered this so many times when the Lebanese identify themselves as Arabs, when in reality, Lebanon is an Arabized state, not an Arab nation by origin. Its identity predates Arab nationalism by millennia. Lebanon was shaped by Canaanites, by Phoenicians, by Aramaic-speaking Christians, and later by a pluralistic mosaic that survived precisely because it resisted uniformity. And to erase all this, it's not called unity, it's called cultural amputation. The same intellectual dishonesty governs how Israel is addressed. Israel is not taught as a neighbor with whom Lebanon once shared calm borders and an armistice, but as an abstract external enemy devoid of history, humanity, or context. Students are not taught about the 1949 armistice between Lebanon and Israel, about the years of quiet that followed between our countries, or the fact that Lebanon's descent into war came not from Israel, but from the collapse of Lebanese sovereignty under armed non-state actors and foreign agendas. When history is distorted, hate becomes policy by default. And this is what we see in Lebanon today. It is simply unacceptable that in geography classrooms in Lebanon, Lebanese children are taught their country's borders under ideological coercion rather than factual truth. When students are asked, to name Lebanon's southern neighbor, they are required to say occupied Palestine or Palestine. And if they say Israel, they receive a failing grade. This is not education. This is indoctrination, and it is brainwashing. Geography should teach reality, not enforce political dogma. Forcing young children, young minds to deny the existence of a neighboring state does not protect Lebanon's identity. It undermines intellectual honesty and trains a generation to fear facts. A nation that cannot name the world as it is cannot prepare its children to navigate it, and let alone lead it towards peace, sovereignty, and confidence. The same distortion extends to Lebanon's own modern history. In schools, Lebanese students are not taught about the years in which Palestinian terrorists operated as a state within a state, nor about the massacres committed against the Lebanese civilians, the assassinations, the checkpoints, and the systematic erosion of Lebanese sovereignty. They are not taught that in the late 1960s, the Lebanese army attempted to restore order and disarmed its militias, only to be blocked by the 1969 Cairo Agreement imposed under regional pressure by foreign powers. They are not taught that Syria's leader at the time, Hafez al-Assad, the father of Bashar al-Assad, explicitly threatened to seal Lebanon's borders, starve its population, and intervene militarily if the Lebanese state asserted control over its own territory, and that Syria did later exactly that anyway. This silence has consequences as parts of the Lebanese society continue nowadays to romanticize actors who deeply harm the country simply because they were never taught the truth. When a nation is denied an honest account of its own trauma, it cannot distinguish solidarity from self-destruction, nor understand how foreign causes repeatedly came at the expense of Lebanese lives, stability, and sovereignty. The Lebanese leadership cannot claim to want peace while educating its youth for perpetual hostility towards its friends and for clueless love against its enemies. Peace is not vaguely alluded on in speeches, as they do now in Lebanon, but is built on through truth, through law, language, and courage, and actual measures and actions taken. Lebanon must untie itself from a rigid Arab path, on which is it now, that does not reflect its reality or serves its interest. Lebanon does not belong to ideological pan-Arabism or Islamist dogma. It belongs to itself, to its land, its people, and its unique Levantine inheritance, that it's actually unique in the Middle East. Part of this revival must be linguistic and cultural as well. Lebanon once spoke Syriac, an Aramaic language that carried its Christian theology, literature, and worldview. Syriac connected Lebanon to its deepest historical layers. Reviving Syriac should not be about replacing Arabic. It is about restoring continuity. Israel understood this when it revived the Hebrew language, not as nostalgia, but as a nation building. Language anchors memory, and memory anchors identity. To the Lebanese leadership, I want to say that if you truly seek sovereignty, then act like a sovereign state. Teach the full truth of Lebanon's history. Reform citizenship laws. Engage peace as policy, not as rhetoric. Break free from external vetoes that have turned Lebanon into a battleground for others for decades. And to the Lebanese people inside Lebanon, I want to say, you are not condemned to inherited hatred or borrowed conflict. Your history is older, richer, and stronger than the narratives imposed upon you. Reclaim your language, your plurality, your sovereignty, and with it, the possibility of peace with those who share your ancient land and your future horizon. I know that I speak before you and to most that are listening now who are Lebanese, and I'm speaking as an Israeli, although I have no ties with Lebanon, unlike most of the speakers here. And I know some of you might ask, who am I to tell you what to do? To that, I want to simply and honestly answer, I don't speak like an authority, but as a friend. Israel is your friend, and the Jewish people are your friends. We have been before, and we can be again. What we need is not something new. We don't need to invent anything from scratch. We just need to remember the shared path grounded in our history, in our humanity, and the mutual respect we once had for one another. I love your country. I love Lebanon and its people, its culture, and its resilience. And I do really hope and look forward soon, hopefully, to the day when I can walk freely in Lebanon, and to the day you will be able to walk freely in Israel, and not as enemies, but as neighbors and partners. A revival begins with truth, and I think nations that remember who they are do not fear their future. They do shape it, though. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Selena. If there is a will, there is a way. And go ahead, Frank.
Amen.
Yeah. I want to say a few words because I need to jump onto another call, and I want to try to sort of summarize everything that's been said. But I could not help, listening to Selena and blushing as a Lebanese, to be given a history lesson by an Israeli, a very good, very thorough history lesson that we should all blush, all of us Lebanese on this space, blush for not being able to, in our own voices, tell the story. And it, you know, and it comes from a good place, from a friendly, a friendly space. And I think I want to say a few words about what Dan said also, because he gave us a good ass whipping that we deserve, and a well-meaning good ass whipping, and a lesson in reality that we should also blush as Lebanese for not being ourselves able to do this sort of introspection and self-criticism. And they both come, as I said, from a good place, and I think those are in and of themselves true Lebanese voices. They're voices of Lebanese at heart, even if not Lebanese by birth. I think Lebanese in a way by choice. So I would like to read you excerpts from an op-ed written by Michel Chiha, a Lebanese thinker of the 1920s and 1930s, who was considered one of the young Phoenicians, one of the advocates of Phoenician identity in Lebanon. And he wrote this op-ed in 1951 in Le Jour, in one of Lebanon's then francophone newspapers, daily newspapers. And it was, in a way, a pro-Israel op-ed. This is to tell you, in 1951, you could still express positive attitudes toward Israel at the time. And I think it's a good kind of response to Selena from the past, from 1951. And I reproduce an excerpt of this in my book on the Jews of Lebanon, the book that I published in 2019. And Chiha writes, as part of this op-ed, that Israel's population, this is a quote, Israel's population has already exceeded 1.7 million. This is 1951, barely 3 years after the establishment of the State of Israel. And he continues, quote, our neighbors to the south are moving forward at breakneck speed, and the massive effects of immigration are adding tremendously to other local conditions favorable to Israel's high rate of birth. We ought to pay our respects to this, Israel's powerful urge towards living and being alive. In what is being written here, in the stress that I am placing on the admiration and unease, note, admiration and unease that Israel's accomplishments may inspire, there is neither envy nor resentment. Let us think about this for a while. Let us think Israel has generated a worldwide immigration process, worldwide material, intellectual, and moral support. Israel benefits from an unparalleled work ethic and an eagerness to serve. It is eagerness to serve. It is imbued with a mystique saturated with ambition and love of land and earthly goods. Israel's virtually unlimited range of expertise in the art and practice of technology and innovation is mind-blowing. This is 1951, folks. Is mind-blowing. Israel's efficient presence in all of the crucial ventures of this planet and the beautifully selfless work that it puts forth in all fields are all awe-inspiring. Tikkun olam. This is what he's referring to. We learned recently, this is still Chiha, we learned recently that 3 Jewish personalities appointed to administer major branches of Israel's Ministry of Industry and Trade refused to be remunerated for their service. In other words, instead of plundering this vital sector of their society, as politicians on our side of the border take pride in doing, they served their government free of charge, and they lived within their means, regardless of the modesty of those means. Such is the virtue of high ideals of true citizenship. Such is the sublime lesson of religious, political, and social conviction. There is in all of this the glowing primary ingredients of greatness. Meanwhile, he repeats it twice, we praise ourselves not on account of the activities and accomplishments of our men in power, but on their indolence and lethargy and deceit. We go on living and thinking in obsolete, archaic notions, in the fatal laziness of bygone centuries. The best of the Lebanese, the most gifted among them, in all fields possible, are scarcely up to the task at hand. Let us not forget this painful reality if we do not wish this country of light to lapse into the twilight. End of quote. And that is where we are today, folks. And thank you all. Thank you, Selena. Thank you, Dan, for reminding us that we are in the twilight and we need to do something pronto. Thank you.
Thank you. Avi, we have one more guest. It's Waleed Ghadban. Can you please introduce him or welcome him? Oh, he left. Okay. Our next speaker will be Waleed Ghadban. Can you please introduce yourself if you hear me?
I think Waleed is gone. So let's go to Stealth, who had her hands up.
Okay. Would you like to add anything, Stealth, before we open the space for questions?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Okay.
So I have to be with the family now with Shabbat dinner, but it was an amazing space. Thanks to all the speakers. And on my take as an Israeli, we really just want to live in peace. And when we look around, as Dan perfectly said and Eddie said, there is no peace with Islam. And when I look to my left and my right, all I see is minorities, and those are facing the same struggles, the same dangers. And I think Israelis should defend the minority as much as we can and support your sovereignty and your land and freedom, because there is no freedom under Islam and under Arabism. And this is where we're at right now. This is the part of the world where the big war is happening kinetically, and borders are changing now, and the Middle East is changing in a very fast pace, like never before maybe. And the time is now. So this is why I'm here. This is why I'm supporting you.
Thank you, Avi. Zigos, do you like to share anything with us?
Yeah, thank you very much for the mic. Thank you, Cedar, for the mic. I'm going to frame it in reality more than pragmatism, just to let you know that no other country in the Arab world has the right to speak about the Palestinian problem more than the Lebanese, because none of them has paid that steeper price. You have to understand that the Arabs only throw money at the problem, and they insulate themselves from the true problem. No Arab country wants them. So the problem started with the Cairo Accord, and then you have to understand no country can be broken from inside unless the inside is rotten. So the Lebanese problem is not only an outside problem. I have to tell you a little bit of history so you can understand. I was born in the Bekaa Valley of Lebanon in the middle of terrorism. This is where terrorism was created, basically by the PLO. And I'm lucky to walk around you after acquiring few holes. I fought the Palestinians, I fought the Syrians and Hezbollah. So if it wasn't for the Israeli helping the Christians in Lebanon, today we would not be speaking to you. And they would all be massacred by now. And this is not something that is most people in Lebanon don't have the courage to say. I would have to add that the problem started with the Cairo Accord when we acquired all these Palestinians as refugees, but then they built a state within a state. Then the Syrian came under the pretense of the Arab peace forces. Then you go back and they created a void. They infiltrated every single facet of the government and put their intelligence services to control the government. But that doesn't happen without insider traders. So Lebanon is full of traders from the inside, and the void created by the Syrian amplified by the Hezbollah, because they had 30 years under the Syrian to put their tentacles inside everything of every single facet of the government, the intelligence, the army, all the institutions. Lebanon needs courage, doesn't need speeches. We don't have a single person right now in Lebanon that has the courage to actually say what the problem is. The Arabs are the traitors of Lebanon. Every single Arab country has betrayed Lebanon multiple times. The only solution is to throw money at the problem. That doesn't cure it. If the Lebanese people don't have the courage to say the truth, that who is the actual enemy of the Lebanese diaspora and the Lebanese people, then we're just going to be spinning our wheels for the rest of our Saudi Arabia is not our friend. They just throw money at the problem. Israel tried to help, but Israel alone cannot clean this mess. It has to be a decision by Lebanese people themselves. And you have not had a single person besides Bashir al-Jmayeh that had the courage to name the problem as it is. We can debate all this, and we can talk about how nice it is to build a country, and the Lebanese diaspora, they are smart and they are gonna come back to Lebanon and rebuild the country, and that's fantasy. If the problem does not start from within the Lebanese people that have to rebuild this country, and it's a futile and it's just a romantic things that we're talking about, and we are just staying in the hopeful. The hope doesn't help you. It's a courage and decision to be made. And the traitor is not Israel, it's not the West. They can help us, but they cannot fix our problem. The traitors are the Arabs. If you go back in history, it's well documented. It's not fantasy, it's well documented. How many times the Arabs have betrayed Lebanon to come back and then stand on its own. And I can go on about this forever for you, but this is the core of the problem. Israel now is trying to weaken Hezbollah, but if the Lebanese government does not take a courageous decision to finish the job, then Hezbollah will rebuild slowly, and then we'll go back, and then we're spinning our wheels. And thank you for the mic. I don't want to say anymore because this is touchy subjects right now. When I grew up in Lebanon, I was really inside the central power of the Lebanese resistance. And I know what Israel did for us, and we are thankful, but they cannot do it for us on their own. We have to take that courageous decision to start cleaning it up. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Ghost. The bottom line is that the Cedar Accords is an initiative, but at the end, we want an independent Christian nation to be able to preserve our history and our heritage and to live in prosperity and to stop other hostile countries to use South Lebanon to attack Israel. And I'm really sorry. I speak for myself. I'm really sorry that Lebanon has allowed factions and other countries to use South Lebanon to attack our neighbor. That's unfair. That's totally unfair. And we want to open a new peace that is, we don't have an ideological problem with the Jewish people. Plus, it's our natural right to talk to our neighbors I mean, what kind of a law that prohibits me from talking to people in Israel, or to have a photo with them, or to, and that's weird. That's bizarre. What kind of law? This is legal but illegitimate. That's not a legitimate law. So yeah, I hope this space will open the door for more spaces and more openness toward the two ideas, the peace with Israel and the establishment or the creation of an independent Christian nation. To wrap it up, I ask all our friends in the world and all the Lebanese Christian diaspora to help us to fulfill this dream, not only for us, but for future generations. They don't need to fight. They don't need to suffer. Plus, we are threatened, as Dan said, we are sandwiched between two ideologies, the Shia ideology in the south and the Sunni in north. So the only thing we can do is to preserve that Mount Lebanon, that sacred land, for future and for the well-being and also for the national security of both Israel and Lebanon. Thank you, and we will meet in another space, hopefully. Thank you, everybody, for waiting for us. It's almost more than 2.5 hours, for your patience, for all our distinguished speakers, and for the love that I have been witnessing in this space. Thank you very much, and see you later. Anybody wants to say anything before we leave? All good? Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Sorry?
Who's want to talk?
No, I wanted to ask if we don't take any answers from the people that listened.
Yes, they can ask questions, but I don't see anybody raising their hand.
Okay.
That's all. Anybody wants to ask any questions? We are ready here for 5 or 15 minutes. I have requested here some okay. Juliana and Eddie, maybe Eddie as well. Okay. Any questions to our guest or to our speakers? Okay, go ahead.
You have to change your politicians. يعني زهقنا من عائلة الجميل وزهقنا من عائلة جنبلاط ونبيه برا اللي 40 سنة صار له يعني لايمتين على القبر. يعني لازم يصير في زعمة جداد. كل العائلات هدول اللي تربينا عليهم اللي خلقنا معهم صار لهم 40-50 سنة عم يحكمونا. خلاص, enough is enough. We have to change these families. They did all what they did is wrong to this country. You have to change. وهيدي هي رسالتي للبنانية بالانتخابات. يعني مش هلا غيروا, جيبوا شباب, جيبوا ناس نضاف, جيبوا شباب نضاف, clean people, uncorruptible people. If this exists, this is the key of the beautiful future, inshallah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Stealth, did you want to add anything?
Since we have Shadi here, I haven't had him on my spaces before, but you know, there's a thing going on in the world right now where well, in America, it's really the issue of the misconception of what the Christians experience inside of Israel is. And it's shadowing the actual benefits and the relationship that the Israeli Christian community happens in Israel, not under what I called occupied Islamic territory in other areas. And I think it would be a beautiful example for people to understand how Jews and Christians are committed together to make what I say Lebanon great again. You can see from the hashtags on my feed, it's always free Lebanon. I also now say free Cyprus because, well, I'm pissed off at the Turks, so that's okay. But I think yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, now.
Okay, great. I think this other account's mic is open underneath Cedar Tree.
Yes, hello. My name is I just wanted to introduce our nonprofit to all of you and share with you the work that Saeed Gattas is doing, so that what a lot of you are talking about is what he's trying to do, but you could help in your own way. Under the Cedar Tree was started just a couple of months ago based on the life work of Saeed Gattas, a major in the South Lebanese army. He fled, like many of you have discussed, in 2000 to Israel. During his time there, he served as an advisor to the Israeli government. Under the Cedar Tree was founded with two initial programs: growing peace from the roots up, sharing the true history that many of you are spoken about. He has told stories about the Druze and the Muslims and the Christian children all playing ball in the street together in the villages. All of those people served together in the South Lebanese army, but the propaganda of the hate groups was designed to divide and conquer from within. The other program is Branches of Hope, helping the people. Both of these initiatives are very important. So then when Israel finally disarms Hezbollah, we've laid the groundwork for peace to happen within Lebanon. So all of you that are sharing your story, and it takes courage, but courage is contagious. So if we can remind people of the history of the Druze and the Christians living together, and the Muslims and their neighbors, and how the government was a friend and built hospitals in South Lebanon, but Hezbollah took everything out. So the more that you can continue to talk, we'll lay the groundwork within Lebanon for peace to finally happen, because the more you talk, courage will spread, and then other people will talk and learn the true history, and it will weaken the propaganda of the hate groups. So Saeed Gattas has been doing his part for the last 25 years after being having to flee Lebanon, and I'm hopeful and very pleased that so many of you are continuing to speak. But the more you can speak, the easier the work will be done to finally finish the job, because disarming Hezbollah is just the first step. We have to finish the rest together.
Yes. Okay, let's connect then. That's great. Julia? Probably Julia? Would you like to say something?
Yeah, it's Julia. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm gonna make it short. I know it's been a long space. So I'm an Israeli Druze. First of all, seeing this space actually excited me so much. Can you hear me now?
It's not clear, but we can hear you, but not clear.
Wait, it's my headphones. Now, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as I said, I'm an Israeli Druze. I'm so actually excited to see this space and hear Lebanese people not being afraid to chat with us.
We can't hear you properly. It's sorry about that. We will come back if it gets better. Aviv, it's your turn.
Hi everyone. Shabbat Shalom from Israel. My name is Aviv. I'm a former IDF soldier. I wanted to say about what, first, it's very encouraging, this space. I know many of the people here. And I think that people need to understand, need to take it down to the, subconscious, that we have a very big threat in front of us. We need to understand first, and we see it, what's going on now in all the area and all the turmoil that's happening. Suddenly, the Saudis, which said for many years that the Iranians are their enemies, suddenly they are supporting the...
I can hear you.
You hear me? You hear me?
Okay.
Yeah? You hear me or not?
I'm not sure
I can hear you perfectly fine.
With the connection, but
okay. So
let's hear again from Aviv.
Yeah. So I wanted to say, in short, I will short it. There is alliance now that gathering in front of our eyes between Sunnis and Shiites. Suddenly, Saudi Arabia is supporting Iran, and Turkey is supporting the Julani forces that doing atrocities in the minorities in Syria, in Kurds, Yazidis, Christians, Alawites, Druze, anyone that is not Muslim. The face, basically, the face of Islam is just they show it, the face, and they are gathering forces. We need to gather forces. I will take it a step further. I think that Lebanon, the Christian nation, should be built in the south of Lebanon, in the Mount of Lebanon, and the new country that will establish, the Christian country, should join forces together with Israel, Jews and Christians, also with Greece and Cyprus, and we need to make an alliance against the Muslims, because now what we see, what is happening, is that the Turkish are going inside Turkish, Saudi Arabia, Qatar is going inside the vacuum that Hezbollah basically made, because they were almost eliminated, and the Sunnis are getting inside, and they are doing, releasing ISIS terrorists from prisons in Syria. It's, I don't need to tell you all that it's all terrible, and we have no future, no Jews and no Christians, with Muslims. We don't need to live with them next to us, and we can't live peacefully and in our own way of life when they are next to us, because they are all the time will try to kill us. They think that they are above us, and we need to gather alliance of Jews and Christians, like Israel did with Greece and with Cyprus now, against the Muslims, which is, it can be Sunnis or Shiites. It doesn't matter. They are both terrorists. And that's it. This is basically what is going on. And the Saudis showed the best way. They showed Takia in the best way.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt, because we can't hear you very well, but I got your point. Thank you so much. We'll let Juliana speak, try to speak as well, and then we end the space now, okay? Thank you so much for everyone who attended and who listened to us, and we meet with you in another space regarding Cedar Accords and Mount Lebanon. Thank you. Go ahead, Juliana.
Thank you, Cedar. I actually can't hear you well, by the way. Your voice is cutting out. It's on and off. So
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah, that's why we'll and try to say what's on your mind, and then we end the space.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, we will take.
Thank you. Yeah.
Abby as well.
Okay, so I was saying that as an Israeli Jew, seeing this space and hearing you all speak up what on your mind is actually very exciting, and I hope for the best and that it works. I actually look forward for peace and, with everyone actually in Lebanon. I must say that I have also Lebanese roots. My great-great-grandmother is from Shweifat, from Lebanon, and I have Lebanese friends here also in Israel. So most of my family used to visit Lebanon back and forth before the closing of the border in the year 2000. So I actually look forward to have peace with my Druze brethren also, as well as the Christians living both side by side in Mount Lebanon. And I think, and I truly hope that Lebanon not just be free from Hezbollah, also from the dhimmis that still follow the Arab propaganda, unfortunately. And I hope that most of them, my Druze brethren who are listening anonymously, that they might one day remember that true architect of the one who built the early Lebanese state and tried to found the Mount Lebanon and make peace, not just with here, also with anyone outside.
Sorry, yes, thank you so much. I got what you're trying to say, but it's not clear. We will try with Avi. If the connection is like not clear, we will end it. Go ahead, Avi,
host. I just want to add one thing. We hear everyone okay. You have the host has the issue with the microphone. We hear everyone perfectly.
Okay. But that's okay. I think it's time to end this space for some legal also issues, and we'll see you in another space, okay? Avi, do you want to say anything before we end? I don't think he's hearing me. Okay, Mike.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Do you have anything to say before we leave?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, okay, Avi.
Yes. First of all, I just want to say,
can you hear
I have the biggest. Can you hear me?
Yes. I hear you perfectly. We hear everyone perfectly.
Okay, thank you. Although we don't have our videos on, I just want to.
So you guys can hear.
Yes. Yeah, yes. I just want to say, although my video is not on, you can only hear me. I have a giant smile on my face. I cannot believe how wonderful this conversation has been with literally hundreds of Israelis and Lebanese and others. It brings me so much joy. My grandfather, Chaim Bukai, is from the Bekaa Valley in Lebanon, and I have Lebanese blood in me, and I love Lebanon, and I cannot wait until there is peace and we have high-speed trains that go back and forth. We can either go to Beirut or Tel Aviv or Haifa or Jerusalem, even for a day trip. That's what's going to happen in the future. And I've traveled all over the Arab world, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Jordan, many Arab countries. I've not yet visited Lebanon, and it is my dream that hopefully very, very soon we can both visit each other. And thank you everyone for organizing this wonderful event.
Okay, thank you, Avi. Michael, do you have anything to add before we leave?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to thank everyone. Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you very well.
Okay, thank you. I just want to, first of all, thank everyone who jumped in, and all the speakers were spot on. I just want to add that we cannot emphasize enough the role education has played in brainwashing the Lebanese youth into animosity towards the state of Israel. Me, myself, being one of those Lebanese youth, grew up in Lebanon, lived there until I was 18, departed in the early 2000s. We really cannot put enough emphasis on the role of education and the terminology that is constantly used in Lebanon to describe Israel, to describe Jews in day-to-day language, as well as on social media and on media overall, be it the news, TV, radio, whatever. I also believe that to combat Arab influence in Lebanon and also in American universities, which you can see, for example, Qatar donating $100 million to Texas A&M, which is relatively not a huge university in the U.S., but huge in Texas. To combat that, money has to be combated by money as well. That's my honest opinion, because politicians in Lebanon are in the Arab camp some of them not out of belief, but out of financial need. And similar things are happening in the US where anti-Semitism is almost at its all-time high and going the wrong way, unfortunately. So I leave with the note that as Jews and Christians, I believe we are at a critical moment. And unless we really operate